Well, welcome everybody. I'll be doing a presentation this evening on JS8Call. And this presentation came out of me doing a presentation on Digital Modes Net recently. I've been using JS8Call for a while now. And thanks, Bruce. Yeah, I've got a acknowledgement from you, from a heartbeat, and we'll explain that what that is later on. So yes, thanks, Bruce. That came through. So I did this presentation for our Digital Mode Net, and I thought, well, it's a presentation in the making, and we needed a presentation for this evening. So I thought I'll jump in and do that this evening for everybody. Now, once again, if anybody wants to pitch in or ask questions along the way, please do so. I don't consider myself an expert. Just someone that finds it interesting and I like using it. So I know there's probably 2 or 3 people on this evening that have also had experience with it. So please jump in and put your 20 cents worth in. If I leave something out, let me know, or if you need to correct me or something. So let's get started. Now what I'll do is I'll share my screen. And I'll go into here. I'll share that. Rightio, can we all see that screen there?
Yep. Yes, I can.
Brilliant. So I'm on the JS8Call website, and we should all be able to see that. So the JS8Call website is js8call.com, and just an introduction. As per the website, the idea with JS8Call is to take the robustness of FT8 mode and layer on a messaging and network protocol for weak signal communication on HF with a keyboard-to-keyboard interface. JS8Call is heavily inspired by WSJTX, FLDigi and FSQ Call, and would not exist without the hard work and dedication of the many developers in the amateur radio community. So it's developed by KN4CRD, and I'll show you his QIZ.com page in a moment. And so JS8Call is an experiment to test the feasibility of a digital mode with the robustness of FT8, combined with a messaging and network protocol layer for weak signal communication. So now what Jordan says here, it's Jordan Shearer, KN4CRD. JS8Call stands on the shoulder of giants. The takeoff angle is better up there. So what he's saying is that it's based on already existing protocols for digital modes, and he's just gone from there and developed a different mode using existing protocols. So as we know, it's a digital keyboard. It's not a voice mode, it's a digital computer mode using text. Now, so that introduces that page. So KN4CRD's page is here, Jordan Shearer. So that's his QIZ.com page, and it's interesting, obviously he's into Morse code as well. You can see a paddle over there on a transceiver. And so he's got some interesting pictures and information on his QIZ.com page. Now, if anybody wants to know about JS8Call, there's documentation here on the download links page. And JS8Call is available for the Mac, for Windows, Raspberry Pi, Linux operating systems. In actual fact, I'll be showing you JS8Call this evening on my Raspberry Pi. Actually, I should confirm that the Raspberry Pi actually belongs to David, but I've stolen it, thanks to VK3GRK. And so I've been using that for a while now, and it's a Raspberry Pi 2. Now I'll have to give it back to David one day, but I don't think he's too fussed about it. It's a Raspberry Pi 2, and I'm actually quite impressed with the Raspberry Pi 2. So it's an older version. You can actually get the Raspberry Pi 4 now, up to 8 gig of RAM. But even the Raspberry Pi 2 is quite impressive with what it can do. So here's the documentation page. So it's quite comprehensive information about how to use it. So anything you need to know, All the instructions are on that page there. And then there's another page, oh yes, that's that. And wait for that Zoom thing to get out of the way. So there are a few pages I wanted to introduce you with. There's also a changelog. This changelog, actually up to version 2.2 at the moment. And the changelog is here. And this gives you an idea, when it comes up, of all the changes in addition to version 2.2. So there's quite a lot to it. That's just version 2.2, all these changes here. And then it goes down to 2.1.1 and 2.1, etc. So there's quite a lot of work that is done in each version. The main difference with the current version, I believe, is that it has an auto synchronization facility whereby you don't need a computer clock to synchronize it. As we know with digital modes, it's very important to have your computer clock accurate. And JS8Call is based on 15-second intervals. And if your clock's not accurate, it won't decode. So you don't need a computer clock to actually decode. Someone coming into the room. It's Robert and his cat. So, okay, what we'll do, I'll actually stop sharing that. And I'll now share the JS8Call screen. There it is. All right, can we all see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're in JS8Call at the moment. Now this is on my Raspberry Pi. I'm VNCing into my Raspberry Pi, or connecting to my Raspberry Pi. And the thing is with Zoom, you get this annoying little taskbar at the top that comes down, and it restricts you from sometimes clicking on menu items at the top. So trying to get that full screen. Okay, so that's what it looks like. And I can actually control this remotely via my tablet too, anywhere around the house on my Wi-Fi network. So basically it's used for chatting, sending text to each other, and also it's got some network facilities as well, network capabilities as well. And I noticed also one of the new features in the new version is that when someone sends a heartbeat request, and I'll tell you what a heartbeat request is in a moment, it brings up a little box that allows you to delay that request. Like if you're doing something or chatting to someone or doing something else, it allows you to delay that or send it now, because you might be wanting to chat to someone else or sending a heartbeat or something, and you may wish to delay it. So that's a new feature which is quite neat. And there's Bruce sending me a message. That message there, set out VK3GRK. It did come up red. That's from Bruce, VK3GRK, over in Central Bendigo. And he's using JS8Call. And see that that signal down there, that orangey reddy signal, that's what it looks like. Quite a strong signal, so it's quite bright. So basically, what you need to at least take away from this evening, if anything at all, it's a way to keyboard chat to each other. And that middle screen is where the conversation is. And I could actually send a message to Bruce. And hi Bruce, and it's all uppercase. How are you this evening? So that's just an example of sending a message. Now it's not overly fast. Now as you can see, it actually puts my call sign automatically in there, and it automatically knew that I wanted to send it to Bruce because I clicked on his call sign, and it puts his call sign in there too. So you don't even need to send the other person's call sign. And so any chat messages relevant to you or signal reports relevant to you will end up in this middle screen here. Are you receiving that, Bruce, at all? Getting those error messages there, but that shouldn't matter. Can you hear me, Bruce?
He's got his mic muted, I think.
Oh, okay. If you can unmute your mic, Bruce, mute your mic and let me know if you can receive that. Down here, this is actually on 7078. So there's different frequencies for JS8Call. So go ahead. No, there's different frequencies for JS8Call on different bands. There's standard frequencies. So on 40 meters, it's 7078. Now, if we click up over here, it will tell you all the different frequencies, and you can click on those. And if you've got your radio hooked up to your computer via CAT cable, it'll automatically change the frequency on your radio. And also, if you change the frequency on your radio, the frequency will change up here too. So that's how that works. Now, we're only on one frequency here on 7078, but there can be potentially lots and lots of conversations on the one frequency. This is like sub-channels down here. Where this blue section is down here, these are sub-channels. So audio, you're looking at the audio channels down here on the frequency, starting below 800 hertz up to above 2800 hertz. So you can imagine you can get lots of conversations in here because they're only fairly thin. The bandwidth is fairly thin, and I can tell you there's a message coming in. So Bruce has given me a signal report of +3. Thanks, Bruce. So we're not very far away from each other, but Bruce has given me a signal report of +3. And you can actually get right down into the noise. You can have a noisy frequency and still, you can have a bit of noise on the band and still receive information. And I should say there's probably a couple of really good examples of why JS8 can be used, and probably other digital modes. It gives people an opportunity to maybe use amateur radio if they're a bit shy. They don't want to go into use a microphone. I mean, that's been that way probably for a long time, ever since Morse code. People can choose to use Morse code if they don't want to use voice. So it's been around for a long time, but with different modes, it just adds to people using other modes without voice. And the other thing too with digital modes is that where there is noise, where you do have local noise and you want to experiment with HF and experiment with HF antennas, you can still do that, because you may otherwise not do that with voice because you think, oh, it's too noisy, I can't hear anyone. Well, with digital modes, particularly FT8 and JS8Call, if it's a bit noisy, you could probably still get on air and enjoy amateur radio. So a couple of good advantages there with digital modes, and JS8Call, it's a lot of fun. The reason why I like JS8Call is because I'm all about communications, using radio for communications. This allows you to communicate. Whilst the other digital modes are fantastic, like say FT8, that's more for automatic signal reporting, and that's fantastic to learn about propagation and put your reported signals into the internet so you can see where your signal's going, and that's fantastic. They're different tools. Like, not one of them is not better than the other. It's just different tools. Whereas I like JS8Call because you can type up here and send messages to each other, and there's examples of conversations there. So I've just scrolled up to previous conversations, and there was a couple of ZLs talking to chatting to each other, exchanging signals, and just general chit chat about their radios and anything, what you've been doing on the weekend. So you can have some interesting conversations. So does that make sense so far, that it's all about sending messages to each other, and everything that you do is in the middle box here? Don't worry, I'll explain what these other boxes here, but if you understand that concept, that everything that you send and receive is in this middle box here in relation to you, then you basically understand what JS8Call is all about, chatting with the keyboard over the radio. And it doesn't really matter if you don't understand too much about anything else when you start to use it, because you will learn as you go, and you can't really break anything. And people help out as well if they can tell that you're new to it. And I've been helped out too by a few amateurs that said, oh, I can see you trying this, do this and do that, and we all help each other. Now, as I was explaining, so this is like a sub-channel section down here. And once again, if anybody has any questions or comments, please yell out. This is a sub-channel. All these sub-channels down here, you're looking at the audio frequencies on 7078. Now, it's just amazing to think that you could have all these streams of data down the bottom here on one frequency. That's just incredible. Now, this yellow section over here is for heartbeats. Now, what heartbeats are, it's like being on, it's like a bit like an SSID on Wi-Fi. It's telling the world that you're here. So you send out a heartbeat, and I'll send out one now. I'll right-click on that and send heartbeat now. And it will wait for the 15-second interval, the correct portion of that time before it sends it. And it says VK3GRK at heartbeat. QF23 is part of my Maidenhead locator. So it sends your location as well. And it basically says, here I am, everybody. I'm sending a heartbeat, and on everybody's screen here, I'll see everybody's heartbeat over on the left-hand side. So, I know that, KJ6NON is on, VK4RV is on, VK6FMTG, and so on. And just by them sending out regular heartbeats, it could be every 15 minutes, every half an hour, and it automatically sends back a signal report. You don't have to, the station doesn't have to manually send it back, it automatically does it. And that's part of the networking capability, which I'll also expand on a little bit later on. So no one actually came back to my heartbeat there. I will try again. And see it goes red down there. And that means that you're actually transmitting. I'm getting an error message there, but that doesn't normally happen. But it's, of course, I'm explaining it to everybody tonight, so it will happen. But normally it doesn't really happen. And so there's a strong signal coming back there, and that will probably be a heartbeat. There we go, VK3FFF. His station automatically sent me a heartbeat report. VK3FFF. Your call sign, the station sending call sign goes first, and then the other station. So it's a bit like the opposite of when you're talking. Your call sign goes first, then mine, and then heartbeat, signal to noise ratio -3. So, and I've seen, I think, signals down around about -20 or something like that. It's dB. So it can work really well with low signals and a bit of noise. So that explains what that's all about there. Multiple channels, if you like, on the one frequency. And at the moment we're on 7078. Now these, the mode, right, there's a few different modes. Now when I say a few different modes in JS8Call, it's all to do with the speed and the bandwidth. So the normal default one is normal, and it takes 15 seconds to send a standard normal message, right? Chunk of the message before it will need to resend. You can have a long message, but it will split that up into 15 seconds at a time. At 50 hertz wide, and what they say with JS8 normal is that it's 16 words a minute. So that gives you an idea of the speed. There's a slower one. So if you've got a lot of noise or not a very good signal path, you can use a slower one. That takes 30 seconds per chunk of data, if you like, and 25 hertz width. So that's even narrower, and that's about 8 words a minute. Now, then you got fast. That's 10 seconds, 80 hertz wide, so it's a bit wider, and it's 24 words a minute. And then turbo, which is really fast, that takes 6 seconds per chunk of data, at 160 hertz wide, 40 words per minute is the speed. So obviously, the wider you go, the better signal you have to have for it to work properly. Otherwise, the data will degrade. Now, but there's more. In a future version, I believe, it's going to include steak knives. No, not steak knives, but there is more. It's going to have even a faster mode. I think it's called Ultra. And the developer has been talking about that. So that will even be a faster mode. And that will be good if you've got a really good connection between you. I mean, it could be local, or you could have a really good connection via HF, long distance too. So that's how they work. And it's automatic. So if someone starts off in normal mode and then changes to fast mode, you don't have to do anything. It will decode automatically. So it knows that it's fast and it will just decode it. You don't have to change modes. And then you might think, oh, okay, that station's using fast mode. Now I'll go over to fast mode myself. Or you both might say, well, let's try fast or turbo. So it automatically decodes no matter what mode they're in, which is pretty cool. Now, I mentioned earlier that I think the main, or there's probably a lot of behind the scenes changes to it, but the main change is the synchronization, timing. You can automatically synchronize. So start automatic time drift, right? And I've got it clicked to stop after one decode. Okay, you can have multiple decodes, but it does take a bit more resources. If you're running an older, slower computer, you might not want to do any more than 1 or 2 decodes. You don't have to use it. If you've got a computer clock, yeah, no worries. You don't have to use this, but it will automatically assume that any incoming signal, that decode, it will automatically assume that it's synchronized, and it will synchronize your JS8 call to that signal, because most probably it is synchronized because they've got theirs synchronized. So that's pretty cool, because if you're out in the field with a Raspberry Pi or something, and you're running a basic system with no computer clock, then you don't need a computer clock to synchronize. I'll just check any. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just checking these messages. David said that VK3GRK, check your time on the PC. Your time delta is 2300 milliseconds. Yeah, good point, David. So if it's any more than a couple of seconds out, then you're probably in trouble with synchronizing. And the other one from Pippa said, would you not be better off with ASL turned off? ALC, automatic limit control. That might be to do with Bruce's transmissions. Yeah, good one, David. ALC should be barely active. You need to turn up the audio slider on right until the RF stops increasing, then back off to... Yep, so make sure it's all adjusted. Your transmitter to... How much do you need to derate the transmitter power? Okay. Oh. Upper sideband. Yeah, upper sideband. JS8Call is upper sideband. Digital modes are upper sideband. Spacebar can be used to mute and unmute the mic. That's correct. Oh yeah, of course, that's to do with Zoom. Yes, the ALC, very important. I'll close that message box now. You only just need the ALC meter on your radio just moving. Otherwise, you can distort your signal. Now, I did notice that Bruce's signal did seem quite strong. I wonder whether it was a bit too strong. It's unlike voice on the computer, voice on the radio. With sideband, you're sort of looking at a nice punchy signal and the meter going up and down. With digital modes, you only just need to have that meter moving. Otherwise, you will distort the signal, and it could even make the bandwidth wider, and it might make it difficult for your signal to be decoded. So you only need that meter just moving on the output of your radio. So that's very, very important with digital modes. Now, so did I cover those couple of comments there?
Graeme, just to clarify,
Yep.
a point. You're talking about ALC. Are you saying that the power level used in the transmitter is extremely low?
Yes. Yeah.
What sort of power level?
Well, as an example, my meter on my FT897, basically I have it so it's just, you can just see it just start to move.
So that sounds like a couple of watts. Is that right?
So you don't need much power. Actually, I had mine set to say 50 watts, but the ALC only just really moves. So you don't need a lot of power with digital modes. It's really more about not distorting the audio, not distorting the audio that goes out.
So a fair amount. That suggests there's a fair amount of headroom in the power amplifier chain, so that there's no prospect of any kind of distortion or intermodulation products. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
It relies on absolutely pure tones.
Yeah, you can't afford to have it too strong, because
Right. Okay.
I suspect maybe Bruce might have had a bit too strong, because his signal was kind of looking rather orangey red. So, but that was a good example, though. If that was the case.
Graeme, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Yeah, what I did was with my experimentation today was I was looking at the ALC meter, backing off the audio level until the ALC meter was not moving.
Yeah.
And even then, I was running about 100 watts. So I backed that off to the audio level so that it was modulating at about 50 watts, according to the meter. And that's where I am at the moment. And just on that timing too, I switched that thing on to automatic, but I've noticed now it's switched off again. So I'm a little bit confused about that.
Right. The automatic, what, automatic heartbeat, or?
No, the timing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So if you have it start on automatic, and have the box clicked or checked, then it should theoretically it should auto synchronize for you. But if your computer's plugged into the network, then it will synchronize your computer clock on the network. But that's how that works in theory anyway, with the automatic synchronization.
I don't know why I'm out of sync so much.
Actually, it was too. As David pointed out, I can see your time delta there, up here on the left. So 2300 milliseconds. So it's over a couple of seconds out. So that may result in some transmissions not being decoded. So you might need to experiment a little bit more with that auto sync. Maybe
have it on. I'll have to read up on that because I'm not sure.
Yeah, have it on more than one decode. Have it on a few decodes or something like that. That it'll auto sync.
If you're relying on the Windows computer to synchronize its internal clock, if you've got the auto syncing on with the network time servers on the internet, a Windows computer by default only does it once a week. Which, with the inaccuracy of most computer clocks, at the end of a week, you can be 10 or 15 seconds out.
Yeah.
Have a good day off.
There's someone, their audio a bit loud there. Okay, it's gone now. Yeah, no, you're right. It could be too. So with digital modes, we've got Mark VK3GRK joining. With digital modes, you do need to make sure that your computer is synced, and it might be that you need to make sure that you go in and force an internet clock sync, so your computer's synchronized. So yeah, computers aren't always perfect with their clock. You might need to make sure that it is synchronized if you're using your internal computer clock.
Yeah, I'm going to dob my friend Brian in again, VK3 Bravo Delta, who's gone through all this recently. If you manage to catch him, he's usually up on 6 meters. He's up near Mount Buller. If you manage to catch him, ask him how he synced the clock in his computer, because it took him some effort to actually persuade that Windows computer to sync more often than what it wanted to.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, there could be issues with some computers, and also you can get GPS real-time clocks for devices like Raspberry Pis and things like that too. Now, so Pippa also said VK3BD uses FT8 often on ANA and 8000 rig, which is capable of 200 watts, and he only uses 70 watts maximum power. Yeah, so you'll find that you don't need a lot of power anyway for digital modes. If we've got through,
okay, Graeme, how would it travel on a say 5 watts?
Yeah, 5 watts. Yeah, I mean, definitely worth trying on 5 watts. And if you've got a good path to the other station, then there's no reason why it won't work. And I've had JS8 call contacts with a couple of people in Castlemaine. I think it was David and Howard. 2 meters up a sideband, barely hear the signals, barely hear each other's signals. Just a faint whistle, and we got perfect decodes. So that's an example of how well it can decode on a very weak signal. Just making sure. Yeah, I think we've covered questions there for now in the chat box, but yell out also if there's anything. Now, okay, so up here so I've explained the mode and the control. The other thing you do is when you first log into JS8Call, you go down there, send heartbeat, and I've got it set for every 15 minutes. You can have it 30, 60. You can specify the time, and you can send a heartbeat now. Send a heartbeat now if you want. But you can also right-click on the box here and send heartbeat now. So generally, you might have that checked, so it will be in automatic mode. Then you think, oh, yeah, I want to send a heartbeat now. So you go right-click and then send heartbeat now. And once again, if you send regular heartbeats, people know that you're on the network, and they're on the network, and you can also send out a CQ. So, for example, I could right-click on that and then send CQ now, and it will automatically send a CQ. And I'm gonna hop that because there's an incoming signal, and it might be Bruce, I reckon. Oh, there we go. I wanted to show you this. Thanks, Bruce. This is a new feature in version 2.2. Auto reply. A transmission is queued for auto reply. VK3FFF heartbeat, signal to noise +9. That's the signal it's giving to me. Would you like to send this transmission? Now I can send yes now, or if I'm doing something else, it will send in 60 seconds from now. Or I can say no, because I think, no, it's disturbing what I want to do. Or I can say yes, so I'll send yes now, and it will automatically, it will send that now, and it goes red down the bottom left. So that's another good feature of the new version.
The way I read that dialog box was the countdown timer looked like it was going to automatically know after the countdown period rather than automatically yes.
Okay, I'll have to look at it next time, but I assumed it would just automatically send it after that set period of time, I think.
So it gives
but
you
I have,
60 seconds to make up your mind, basically.
yeah, I haven't, because I mean, if you're not there in front of it, well, you're not doing anything, so therefore it will probably send it. Well, I have to experiment with that, but that just allows you a bit more flexibility. And rather than your computer just sending it straight away, it will allow you to just say yes or no. And now just going over the basics. And you can also, with CQ messages, you can repeat automatically CQs however often, 1 minute, 10 minute, 15, or you can specify. So it will automatically do that for you. So it's best of both worlds. There's automation involved, but there's also, you can also use it manually to talk to each other. And you can also send your information out to PSK Reporter, just like you can with FT8, etc. And you can check on the internet as to how your signals are being received, and others can see what's happening in regards to propagation. So it's got that facility as well. Now with some networking capabilities, I'll just go down here now. It also shows you over here on the right-hand side, stations with the star they're the ones who can hear your station, and obviously Bruce can, VK3FFF. We've got VK3FNQS entering the meeting. It's good. And I'll just hover over that. You can hover over these call signs.
Just to clarify, Graeme, I think the star means that that station's acknowledged the signal of yours.
Yes, yeah. So hearing, Bruce is hearing VK3GRK, and Bruce has been heard by me. I'll hover over it again. KJ6NON, KK4WJFX, VK4RV, etc.
And in that particular spot, there's two other symbols that'll come up as well. There's one that looks like an old telephone, which basically means somebody's put out a CQ call in about the last 10 minutes. And if it shows a flag, it means that you've got a message waiting at that particular station.
Yes. And I'll get onto these network capabilities now by right-clicking on Bruce VK3FFF, and then you can go down to, hang on, so, it should come up with store messages, save messages. Oh, directed to VK3FFF. So there's a drop-down box that comes up with all the different messages you can do, all the different network capabilities. And I can send a direct message to Bruce, and I can just do that by typing in the box. And I can reply to a message, send a signal report, send my station information, which I'll show you in the setup a little bit later on. You can have it predetermined information in there. Send a grid square. What is my signal report? So I could send a message direct to Bruce to say, well, what's my signal report to you? Info, what is your station information? So it'll automatically trigger Bruce's computer to send his information to me. And I can see Bruce is sending out a heartbeat there. That's in red on the left-hand side. What is your grid locator? What's your status? What stations are you hearing? Please relay this message to its destination. And what you can actually do there is you can send a message to somebody that you know is on the system that you might not be able to hear, or they might not be able to hear you. So I can send a message, say, from Bruce to David. And that will also come up as a pop-up box saying that there's a message from someone on Bruce's computer. And then you can actually access that message. So there's a whole lot of different network capabilities in regards to messaging, which is pretty interesting actually, the way it works. And yeah, please store this message in your inbox so you can collect it later on. So you might not be your computer, and someone sends you a message, and you come back from making a coffee or doing the washing or something, and there'll be a pop-up box on the screen, and it'll say that you've got a message. You click on that, and you'll have a message there from someone that sent you a message earlier on. Yeah, please store this message at your station for later retrieval by another call sign. And when you receive a heartbeat from another station, it will indicate that there's a message there waiting for you in their station. If you acknowledge their heartbeat, and it will inform you that there's a message there for you. Please acknowledge you can communicate directly with a call sign. So I could say, well, I could send a message to Bruce and say, can you communicate with David? In that case, then I could send a message to David via Bruce. So things like that. You sort of use your imagination as to what it can do. And do you have any messages for me? So I could send out an all call to all stations saying, is there any messages for me? And if there's any messages in anyone's station listening to hear me, it will tell me. You can repeat the last transmission. So if you didn't quite receive all the last transmission, once again, the forward error correction is pretty good. And you'll either receive the full text or you won't at all. And if there's some missing, then you can send a please repeat your last transmission request, and it will automatically send it. The user at the other end won't have to. Their computer will just acknowledge the fact that, oh, that station wants me to send it again, and it does it. Did you receive my last transmission? I confirm received your last transmission, etc. So yeah, there's various requests you can send. How do you copy? You know, you want to get a signal report from someone, you can say how copy, and there's your standard Roger. FB is fine business. That's an interesting one. When I first started using this, I saw people saying FB, and I thought, what's it got to do with Facebook? And it's not Facebook, it's fine business. Right, a new message was received at 10:22 and 44 seconds UTC from VK3GRK. I hit OK. And then also, would you like to send this transmission auto reply? Now this is interesting. Yeah, I think it would automatically send it if we waited. That's 60 seconds from now. I would reckon. But I'll send it now, and then I'll look at that message business. K3 triple F. Now that's interesting. I can't see VK3 triple F there now. I wonder why. But there's an inbox. Show message inbox. And there it is there. Test, test, test. So that's an example of the message box. It's a little bit like email. And it tells you when it was received, frequency, call sign, to me, and the message. So thanks, Bruce. That's a really good example. So and that went in the inbox, just like a bit like an email inbox. So it's potentially much more than just chatting and signal reports. And you could use your imagination as far as the capabilities that it's got. And there it is, VK3GRK. I must have missed it before. And I was just going to then just finish these other messages off. Well, yeah, the standard ones, they're fine business, 73, SK end of contact, and DIT end of contact. So you kind of standard historical CW type messages there. So that's really just a brief touch on the network capabilities to get you thinking about the possibilities of it. Now, over here, one of the first things you might do is hit the tune button. When you load JS8Call, hit the tune button, and that just sends a tone, right? So you look at your radio, you think, oh yeah, it's the ALC is not too high, it's not going to distort. Yeah, that's how I want it set, and it's transmitting, so that's all good. So then that's just what that tune does, and the green buttons up here, RX, that means it's ready to receive in receive mode, and TX it's ready to transmit, and I can turn those off or on. I might want to sit there and just listen and not transmit, or just disable the transmitter, etc. And this box over here tells you what you set up for normal mode, you can receive multiple modes automatically. You're in automatic mode for conferencing and heartbeats, etc. So that just tells you what your system is set up to do at the moment. And it's you can click on log, you can log calls, and that, as I was saying before, you can actually spot your data out to the internet, PSK reporter, etc. I can turn that off or on. Now I want to go up. This VK1 in MIC is on quite a bit up in the ACT. VK1 MIC is quite regular. You get your regular ones, and you get to know some of them. Now configuration. File settings is what I want. And there's just your sort of digital mode software setup parameters. I've got my call sign here, Maidenhead locator. These groups, that's right. I've got @barrack in there, for example. You can use it for groups, right? So that middle box you saw where the conversations occur, if anyone sends out a message with @barrack in there, that will actually appear in that middle box. So I'll be alerted to that, because that will appear in that middle box. So you can have multiple clubs, or you could have @QRP group, or fire number 23. You know, if it's used for potentially emergency communications, whatever. It's just another capability of its networking, and it will kind of filter out those messages to appear in the middle. So you will see anything with that @barrack group, or whatever that group is, and you can have multiple groups set up in there. So that's a pretty neat feature. And that your standard CQ message, station information, and the station status that you can send automatically if you want. Just check these messages. Yep, at 2 p.m. got to head off. No worries, Peter. I thought the spot button activated the automatic dog. Yeah, actually, yeah. Well, it can do pretty much everything except make the coffee. So maybe it could do that. Yeah, modern day packet radio. It does remind me a little bit of some packet radio capabilities, and a bit more about syncing the computer there. I much prefer Linux computer. Yeah, Linux computers. Yeah, Linux is good. Raspberry Pi uses, Linux operating system. FT8 sounds like JS8, but Whisper is quite different, more like a Constantine. Yeah, definitely right there. So they will have the different tones. I use Linux, it doesn't have this problem. So thanks for all those comments there. Can you clearly tell the difference between? Oh yes, and there was a comment about how you can tell the different audios. So the best way is to listen to them, and then you sort of learn the difference. But because there's standard frequencies for these things, you just tune into that standard frequency, and the tones that you hear on there will be pretty much for, if you've got your system set up right, you'll just receive the relevant digital mode transmissions on the right frequency for that mode. Behaviour, I haven't really worried about that. I mean, didn't really need to change anything there pretty much. Display distance in miles, receiver off at startup, etc., etc. You can just change the parameters of how the program works when you load it, and a few other bits and pieces. The end of transmission character is that diamond sign, but you can change that, I believe. And missing character indicator. If it's missing characters, you'll generally get those dots, and that's how you know you've missed some of it. And once again, you can reply to send again if needs be. Networking and auto reply. You don't need to worry too much about any of this. Idle timeout. Disable auto reply after, say, I've got that set for 240 minutes of inactivity. If I'm doing something else around the house and I forget that I've got this set up, well, it'll just deactivate after a certain time. The radio setup, of course, I've got this set up, the CAT control set up for FL Rig. So once you set FL Rig software up, you basically just use FL Rig in the relevant digital mode software that you're using, and it will point to FL Rig to control your transmitter. Or you can have it set up in the rig options as well. And yeah, audio, so what sound card you're using, you select your sound card for input, output. Reporting, reporting out to PSK reporter, etc. You can enable that or disable it. And network information down here if it's relevant to what you're doing, but I've never worried about that. There's a lot of things here you don't necessarily need to worry about. And then the frequencies. And you can add frequencies too. You can right click on a line here and you can add a frequency to it or delete them. But these are pretty much the standard JS8 frequencies. Another really good feature is you can schedule frequency changes. So, for example, you might want to use it on 2 meters in the morning, which I've experimented with, 2 meters at a certain time of day, and then switch over to 40 meters at another time of day, say in the afternoon. So you can actually schedule, which is a pretty neat feature, and it will automatically change frequencies if you wish to. Saved messages, so if there's any saved messages, they'll be in here.
Graham,
actually, yeah, no,
it's pre-formatted messages.
Yeah, that's right. I was just going to say that's in the other one. It's pre-formatted messages. Thanks, David. That you can send like this. Thanks, 73. Good luck. And you can add pre-formatted messages and notifications that will alert you for when various things happen. If I'm correct, you can select a different tone or sound to be activated when you receive a CQ message or a heartbeat message, etc., or acknowledge message or work call sign heard. I haven't actually experimented with that, but that's a pretty good feature. And just the formatting of colours and text and things like that for how your system looks, how your JS8Call looks. So that's just a bit of an overview of that section there. There's another message there, chat. Thanks, Graeme. Thanks for turning up. Right. Now, log. You can log messages, add a log entry, and it will automatically, I don't use this at the moment, but see, it will automatically log VK3FF's call and time, mode, band, grid, etc. So that's pretty good as well, automatically logging. And yeah, so there was another message there from VK3GRK, and you can actually click on messages over here. If you want to follow what's going on, you can click on there, and it will automatically populate that in the middle box, the main box, that that indicates anything relevant to you or you wish to look at, and follow the conversation. You can click on that, and it'll go over here. So, but anything to me, like that one over there, VK3FFF, that automatically comes up in this middle box there in red, because it's directed to me. So, David, is there anything else you can think of that we should add here that I missed out on, or any clarification or anything?
No, well, it's just about that that end of line character.
Yeah.
The diamond that you specify in the settings. The reason that appears is because your message can take more than one transmission cycle. So you might have a message that goes over three transmission cycles. So that's 15-second period. That diamond will only appear once the entire message has been sent. So at the end of those 3 cycles, if you've got a message that goes over those cycles. While it's doing the first and second cycle, you won't have that diamond at the end of the message.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that, David. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so it will indicate the end of the message, as David said. And there could be 2 or 3 different transmissions to send that message. And depending on the mode, you know, it could be 15 seconds for normal, or 10 seconds for fast, or 30 seconds for slow. But at the end of that whole message, then that diamond will appear.
So
yeah.
Is that diamond made of the left arrow and right arrow that are above the comma and full stop on the keyboard?
I believe so. That's probably how you would get the diamond. Generally, yeah, that's probably correct. But it does it
automatically, though.
Yeah, it does automatically. You don't have to worry about that. Yeah. Yeah, so are there any comments or queries? Is it all making sense?
A brilliant system, I reckon.
Yeah. So the left,
audio.
so the left column. Oh, sometimes I notice, I don't know whether this is a resource issue on my Raspberry Pi 2 or whether it's a bug. It most probably is the resource on the Raspberry Pi. Possibly it is only like 1 gig. But to stop that, I can just hit receive and then receive again, toggle off and on, and then it resets it. It doesn't happen often. The earlier version of this, of JS8Call, it actually stopped. The waterfall stopped. And sometimes I could get it back by toggling it off and on. But then sometimes I'd have to, I think, close the program and reopen it. But it's improved. So as the system progresses, there are improvements along the way. But that might not necessarily be a bug in the system. It might be my Raspberry Pi with, you know, because it's only got 1 gig, could be a resource issue, memory. But it's not a major problem. Yeah. Any so basically over here on the left, it's all the signals that are coming in. You can see everything that's coming in. The offset frequency that's transmitted on down here. The age of the message, that's 15 seconds ago and older. The signal to noise ratio, the time delta, which is how far out the signals are from probably 0 from being perfect. And yeah, and then the message. And then on the right-hand side, it's call signs that over a period of time you've received, and they indicate who they can hear, if they can hear you, etc., and information about that transmission, the age and the. So it's got 12 days. Yeah, I just realised 82 days old, etc. And you can change the order. You can have it in call sign order, age, signal, etc. I'll just check to see if there's another message there. Check. Will the receive chase you off if your radio starts to? Yeah, if your radio drifts, it will. You'll have problems decoding and transmitting if your radio does drift. Your radio does have to be quite accurate. So there will be a problem if it does drift there, Jim. So any questions or comments?
I've got a couple of questions. If you are like me and you don't have a call, and you get a Raspberry Pi and set it up, am I going to be able to see other people's talking? Well, am I going to have an issue because I don't have a call?
Yeah, you should be able to use it to receive. Yeah, just don't hook it up to a radio, and you can use it to receive. Yeah, like pretty much all digital modes, you just hook it up to receive.
I've used the web SDRs as my receiver and used JS8Call, just listening to those.
Yeah, that's another good point too that Dave mentioned. If you don't have a receiver, you can jump on to, say, the Kiwi SDR site, and listen to HF and decode JS8Call signals or other digital modes using that audio. So that's another way of doing it.
Yeah, I've got an SDR. One of the other questions, I don't know if you can see that from here, but I don't know how good this camera will pick it up. That's an SDR there. That's the software, and it's running, and it's on this frequency, but all along the band, well, not all along the band, but a good portion of it, there's a lot of digital activity that's not exactly on 7.780. What's that digital activity? If you've got preset frequencies for this.
The digital activity you're seeing is probably on 7074.
Yeah,
that's FT8.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, FT8. Yeah, I've noticed that too, Doug. If you're, so for example, if I'm tuning my radio up or something and I have put it on AM, it's a bit wider bandwidth, I can hear these signals coming in. It's actually, sometimes it can be FT8 down on 7074. So yeah, so you've got to be spot on your frequency and on upper sideband.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still it's a little bit lower than 7078, 7074, like you said. That's where it's strongest.
Yeah.
Yeah, for 7074, because they're using FT8, you need to use another application called WSJTX, which is written by the originator of the FT8 protocol.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I had a bit of a look at a couple of the digital modes.
Yeah, that was really good, Bruce. Thanks for your transmissions and testing. That worked out really well because we're able to demonstrate the message box and everything like that. So that worked out really well.
I learned a few things along the way.
Yeah, well, I think we all do, yeah. But yeah, look, you're always learning about this. Like, I'm not an expert, and I'm glad David was in the meeting tonight too, because he knows quite a bit about it, and we're always learning. So it's a lot of fun. You sit there and have in actual fact, the other thing about it is because it's not that fast, it can be quite relaxing. So sometimes I'll be sitting up there on the tablet in the living area, and I'll be using JS8Call, remotely into my radio room here, and just casually having a bit of a chat. I might go make a coffee or something like that, and so it's not a really quick mode necessarily. I mean, it can be quick if you've got a strong signal and you want to use turbo, but it's the other thing is sort of a relaxing mode to use, I find.
Yeah, and I don't know if you mentioned it, Graeme, but if they have a look at PSK Reporter, JS8, FT8, because Graeme's got the spot activated, will actually report all signals received to PSK Reporter.
Yeah, I can actually show you that. PSK Reporter website. What's the URL, David? PSK. Reporter. And so this reports on multiple different digital modes. Yeah, pskreporter.info. And it's a little bit slow because I'm streaming, so, and you can choose 40 meters, for example. Show signals sent by me, VK3GRK, using JS8. Hit go. There you go. Where there's times on them, they'll be the signals that are received by other stations that I've sent this evening. So that's just to prove that I'm getting out. There, from VK3GRK by VK3FFF. So these stations, I was received by someone in New Zealand, ZL1MTO. There you go. Gives the details there. So where there's times on or there's minutes on these stations, I was received by VK6FMTG. So you can look on here and you think, wow, I'm being received by all these stations, and gives you visual information about where you've been received. And you know your station's working. So that's just an overview there of PSK Reporter. And you can look at signals received by or sent and received by, call sign or country or grid square, and all modes or specific modes. So it's a really good site to go into, pskreporter.info. And it's really good to give an indication of what propagation is doing as well. Right. So with that, I think unless there's any other questions or comments, I might formally stop the presentation and the recording. So,
well, thanks, Graeme. That's been very interesting.